welcome. This is the Certificate in Open Pedagogy information session for the 2026 cohort. I am Tanya Grosz. I'm the program manager, a co-creator of the program, and an instructor. And so I've spent many hours, months, years on this program, and I am so excited to be recruiting people for the very next session. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the OEN, the Open Education Network, who hosts this. I'm going to give you the program info that you're probably waiting for, a description, background overview, component, outcomes, costs of the program. Two of our instructors are here today and will share with you a little bit about what teaching and instructing for this program, why they do that with their busy schedules. A few of our lovely alumni have agreed to be here to share with you. And so thank you, alumni, for being here to take those questions and to just share your experience. And then we will have time for questions at the end, but we're not a very formal bunch. So if you have questions in the meantime, feel free to put them in the chat. Melissa Williams, one of our instructors, is monitoring that. Or if you'd like to unmute, we're a small enough group that we can do that. So want to get your questions answered, that's important. Okay, so who are we exactly? So the Open Education Network, we are not a vendor. We are a diverse network of higher ed institutions working together to make higher ed more affordable, equitable, and accessible. We represent over 1,800 member campuses across the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, who strive to make higher ed more open. Specifically, we're focused on action that advances open education in ways that are shareable, collaborative, and sustainable. We do this by sharing the experiences and expertise of our community in ways that support our members. We are working together to help everyone in higher ed. The best example of our efforts to support the common good is the Open Textbook Library, which you've probably seen, a comprehensive library of open textbooks reviewed by faculty that make open textbooks freely available to anyone, anywhere, at any time. So I think there's over 1,600 open textbooks in there as of now. So that's who we are. And now let's talk specifically about the Certificate in Open Education, in Open Pedagogy. This program offers formal training in open pedagogy as grounded in the principles of social justice, a community of peers, and strong instructional support in order to transform learning to be more accessible, student-centered, I'd add, and inclusive. We were originally funded by a Laura Bush 21st Century Librarian Program grant in 2022. It is for faculty, librarians, instructional designers, and other faculty adjacent roles. We've never actually had, we have had an administrator as someone, but she was also an instructional designer as well. So the idea is for teams to walk through the program together and revise a piece of curriculum or create it through all of the power and efficacy of open pedagogy. It's entering its 4th cohort. It offers formalized training, a community of peers and expert mentors. The program seeks to build sustainable, collaborative, and effective open ed programs and revised curriculum, improved curriculum that's more student-centered. There's a time commitment of about 4 to 6 hours per week. So the program components, Melissa and I are now revising the program. So the online course that begins in January will now be 12 weeks long. The culminating thing is an Open Pedagogy Project Symposium on April 8th and 9th. The culminating project is an action plan that lays out your open pedagogy project or curricular revision, which is to be implemented hopefully fall of 2026. But if you can't implement it till that following spring, that works too. So some of the learning outcomes are to gain fluency in defining open ed and open pedagogy, identifying the possible intersections of open pedagogy and social justice, designing and building sustainable open ed programming based on your local considerations, your particular classroom. Consider student agency, culturally relevant pedagogy, copyright, licensing, universal design for learning, accessibility. Based on this revision, AI and how AI fits into all of that. Connect and collaborate with other open education advocates dedicated to developing accessible and inclusive learning. Create a unique plan to transform student learning through the use of open pedagogy as centered in social justice. So really the idea behind this is that faculty members might take a unit, a lesson, a syllabi, whatever, that they think could be better. It could be more student-centric, it could be more inclusive, it could be more whatever. And they're going to take that and through open pedagogy and with the support of their team members. Thank you, librarians and instructional designers, for coming alongside faculty and helping them with all this. And then together, you're going to revise their curriculum. So program costs for this year, OEN member institutions pay $790, consortial institutions pay $1090, non-members pay $1380. And that is per person, not per team, just to be clear. However, there is financial assistance available. Those who apply and get the financial assistance, the cost goes down to $430. And then also it is free for librarians, BIPOC librarians seeking financial assistance. So we have been able to honor all of the requests that we've gotten these past years. So I believe we will be able to do so this cohort as well. Also, librarians, instructional designers, and other faculty partners who successfully complete the program can take additional paying faculty through the program later at no additional cost. And we have had several librarians take us up on that. And so that is lovely to see them return. Just some of the benefits, not all of the benefits, some of the benefits of this program. Connections with practitioners all over the nation, partnership that provides time to collaborate, an action plan that provides a robust template of next steps for revision and implementation, examples, best practices, and resources in a course shell that you retain for up to 2 years. And then there is a certificate earned with 60, CEUs, I forget, continuing ed units. That left my brain for a second. So we have had faculty in the past say, I really could use CEUs. So we just implemented that last time through, in case that's helpful. Okay, how are you going to, what if I decide to apply, what does it entail? Everyone does have to submit their own application. We tried it the other way, where one person submitted the application on behalf of others, and it just didn't work out that well. So everyone does have to submit their own application. You have to answer a question about interest in open ed and open pedagogy. You don't have to have experience in open ped or open ed, but you do have to have interest in it. Answer about synergy between social justice and open ed. That's a piece. And then you have to upload a resume or CV that reflects interest in open ed / open pedagogy and is professional and articulate. So that is what the application takes. You don't have to complete it all in one setting. You can save and return. So I'm going to stop there because I've been talking at you for about 10 minutes. And just see if there are any questions now. You can save them to later, but in case there are any questions now, I'd be happy to field them.
I have a question. This is Heidi. As we consider kind of our team involvement, it sounds like the focus is really intended to support creation and use of OER in a specific course, which is certainly one thing that we're really interested in doing. I'm also just curious if this could in some way be used kind of more in a with a broader vision in mind, as far as like taking steps to further OER use on our campus as a whole? Or is that really not the intention of this?
I would say OER is foundational to what this is, but this is really more about pedagogy. So it really is about teaching and learning in the classroom that would enable students to be co-creators of knowledge. So the outputs of that could be considered OER if they are licensed as such. As far as OER and open ed specific on campuses, that sounds more like the certificate in open ed librarianship to me, because the purpose of that program is to create a plan to move open education forward on whatever campus you're on. What I will say about this program is anyone going through it, after they go through it once, they would be able to spread the good news about open pedagogy, and some already are. But I would say OER is a component of this. Pedagogy is the broad umbrella. Instructors or former participants, anything you want to add or clarify based on how I just answered that question?
Uh, no, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Tanya,
Um,
I did
yeah.
put a quick note in the chat. I don't know, and you can I know I'm doing this on the fly, so you can say no, Melissa, but I could see some real value in a partnership that came together to develop an assessment or a project that is intended to be an OER. I mean, that's kind of what we're thinking anyway, even if it's not necessarily being taught in the next class or the next semester. Um, I don't know if Heidi, if that would fit your needs or what you have in mind, but Tanya, thoughts on that? Does it need to be explicitly about I'll be teaching this class in the fall with this?
I still think, based on what Heidi is asking for, it fits so perfectly with a certificate in open ed librarianship. But yeah, I think if we can talk more offline, I'm totally willing to do that and see what comes of it. Yes. Okay. Someone privately messaged me, and this is a great question. Can you address how the certificate program is different from learning circles? So we also, OEN also offers open pedagogy learning circles in the fall and spring. Um, and that is a 7 week long program. And the intention is to take a renew or an assignment and transform it through open pedagogy. I would say that this is a more involved program, and you are not alone in doing it. You have a team. So, for instance, faculty oftentimes feel a little nervous or insecure about how do I license student projects? How do I handle Creative Commons licensing? How do I deal with intellectual property and making things more accessible? Those are all areas in which your faculty partner comes alongside you and can be the expert to allow you as the faculty and instructor to kind of focus on first things first, the pedagogy, the learning outcomes, your students, and all of that. So this is more involved. It goes quite a bit deeper into open pedagogy, open education. Um, so I would say open pedagogy learning circles are a snapshot of what we do. The open pedagogy curriculum, the certificate, is more comprehensive, and we have seen people redesign entire classes, so it's not necessarily one discrete assignment. So it's bigger, it's deeper, it's longer. Yeah, I hope that helps. If it doesn't, feel free to speak up and ask me. Feel free to let me know. Okay, so the instructors for this year are myself, Heather Maselli from AACNU, David Tully from North Carolina State University, and Melissa Williams from Minnesota State System. And David and Melissa have graciously agreed to be here today and talk a little bit about how the program enriches them professionally, and why they're taking time out of their busy schedule to instruct for us. So first up is Melissa. Thanks for being here.
Hi, everybody. As Tanya mentioned, my name is Melissa Williams. I am an instructional designer with the Minnesota State System Office. The Minnesota State System, not to be confused with the University of Minnesota, is a group of 33 institutions, including 2-year community and technical colleges and also 4-year universities. And so I work in the individual system office to support those campuses broadly. So my current role is focused on developing OER in ways that broadly benefit all of those campuses. So I got involved with the Open Pedagogy community of practice that OEN offers about 2, maybe 3 years ago, right when it was getting started. And the collegiality and the immense amount of learning that I got from that group completely sold me on the value of open pedagogy. It was something I was relatively new to, and I dived all the way in and have been nerding out, learning a lot about open pedagogy ever since. So when Tanya invited me to be a co-instructor, I think to some degree because we were welcoming in instructional designers. I originally with the grant, this was a librarian and faculty partnership, and we opened that more broadly in recent cohorts. I was a little worried whether I had the expertise to fill that role because I still felt like I was exploring and growing in my open pedagogy practices. But after serving as an instructor for the initial cohort that I was involved with, I realized I had an opportunity to both learn from the participants as much as they would be learning from me, and also that I was able to bring some of, as Tanya pointed out, some instructional design expertise in. I love the partnerships, the way those are structured, because different roles in education professionals, we have different things to contribute. And when we approach open pedagogy as a partnership, I feel like it really enhances the development of our work. So I feel like that is something that really makes this a unique opportunity. I've also been really grateful to see what's happening in different institutions and see the really creative ways that people have tackled their open pedagogy action plan. And honestly, the people who choose this certificate, they're super smart and innovative and frankly fun. We have a lot of fun in these cohorts. So I love a chance to make new friends, make new contacts, and get a chance to see them in other venues later on. So I am all in and have found this an immensely rewarding experience. And hopefully we'll get to know each other in a future cohort. There you go, Tanya.
Thanks, Melissa. So our next sharer is David Tully from North Carolina State University. His colleague, Will Cross, was one of the co-creators of this during our grant-funded portion. And North Carolina State University does some really impressive things that we have directly borrowed from, like the Open Ped Incubator. So really grateful that David can be an instructor for us. Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction, Tanya, and hello, everybody. I'm really delighted to be here again. Just to give you an idea of some of my background and also my motivations for taking part in this program, my job title is the Principal Librarian for Student Affordability. So open pedagogy, needless to say, is like a fundamental aspect of my job, and one of the things that I really like my job, and one of the things that I enjoy most about it is I get to help make learning both more affordable and more accessible for all students, regardless of their background. But I've also been around the block enough times now with open pedagogy to have seen firsthand its potential to just provide better learning opportunities for student engagement and also student learning outcomes as well. So I'm a true believer and an advocate in open pedagogy. And that's obviously when done right. Yeah, so it's not straightforward, but that's what the program hopefully is here to support you with as well. And I just really appreciate the opportunity that open pedagogy gives students to kind of have more input, more agency and ownership over their own educational experiences. So that's some of my motivation. In terms of some of my professional background, I'll just hit maybe a couple of the high notes from my work here in Raleigh. So I lead the alt textbook project, which Will's already had a shout out, but it would be remiss of me not to mention Will Cross again, who began that program about 11 years ago now. So alt textbook is our sort of our OER grant program, but it's much more than just handing over checks. Um, um, it's supporting instructors in lots of different ways, such as, providing support of copyright, publishing, dissemination, discovery, multimedia, all of the different elements that in 2025 are fundamental to OER and Open Pedagogy grant projects. So that's been really successful. We work with all of the 13 colleges at NC State. We support around 15 grants per year, and we distribute now around $50,000 per year to our instructors. I also co-lead the Open Pedagogy Incubator, which is sort of a cousin, really, I would say. I think Tanya sort of, introduced it earlier, sort of prefaced the Certificate in Open Pedagogy program. That program, the incubator now, that works at a system level. So some of you may know that we're one of 17 public schools in the North Carolina system. So we now work with librarians and instructors from across the system, so all 17 schools within our own programs. And sort of feeding into this, I sort of did that work prior to becoming an instructor for this program. One of the best things about the incubator that I also think is repeated in this program is that kind of we're all part of this like sort of constellation, and I quite like the cross-pollination between institutions, getting to connect with one another, learning from one another, helping each other out, I guess, to speak sort of plainly on that. I'm also, and I've just come from the kickoff session, we now do a program called Open Pedagogy Pit Stop, which is the difference between that and the incubator is that this one's more focused around that intersection of interactive technologies. So as you can imagine, everybody wants to talk about AI at the moment. So we say interactive tech, it's AI. It seems to be in this cohort. And that intersection with open pedagogy. So using AI to create enhanced learning experiences for students that are still grounded in the principles of and the values of open pedagogy. So my role in the program, so I act as a lead for one of the cohorts that we have, obviously alongside Melissa with a different cohort, and Heather as well. And my job is to help facilitate your experience and provide some mentorship and maybe some guidance, feedback, advice, and hopefully some inspiration at different points as well, drawing from my own experiences as you develop your project through the program. And my goal, ultimately going back to where I began, is to help create accessible, inclusive, and hopefully better learning experiences centered around open pedagogy. So again, I think Melissa, you said it way better than I could. I can only echo in some of what you said in terms of what I enjoy most in the program, and it's actually getting to work with each of you and working across institutions. And I think a problem is better solved together as part of a group, bringing our own experiences and lived experiences into that as well. So throughout the program, give you an idea of the structure. Fundamental is this action plan that gets developed throughout the program, which I keep tabs on, and yourself and your partners contribute towards. And I provide commentary and ideas and feedback, and we talk about things, and we make it better sort of together. And I really like that approach of doing it as well. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about, I think, why I'm part of the program and why I'm so excited to hopefully work with some of you as well.
Thanks, David. Now some of our alumni have graciously agreed to be here. And we ask, obviously, alumni who have done really great things in the program themselves. And so we took the unusual step, actually, of asking a team to share with us. And so the first person up is Emese Felvegi from the University of Houston. Mesh, thank you so much for being here. If you tell them, what you do and what this program did for you, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me and having us. I'm here with Kate Carter, who's our Open Ed librarian at the University of Houston Libraries. I'm in the C.T. Barrow College of Business, and I teach one of the math sections, or the math section for business computer apps. I've been using OER since 2019, when I first learned about Open Ed through the UH Libraries programs. And my initial efforts were to take actually a UMN textbook and then customize that for my class, add my own content to it. And over time, I invited my student workers and then my students enrolled in my classes to create content themselves. There are 3 links here. The first 2 are live. The third one we're working on, but I can show that to you. So I went from a content creator myself, content adopter and creator myself, to trusting my students with creating their own content, evaluating them, and sharing that. And this is what we ended up creating this past spring as an initiative. This book is centered around Open Ed and renewable assignments that the students created that allowed for them to participate in content generation. Oh, that was actually the faculty version. And this is the student version, where we discuss content in the class based on my OER, and then students create their own OER chapters about content they select. So I'm giving up power. I'm empowering students, respecting their voices, and asking them to share content. It's not published yet because we're working on it, but it's been a great success in terms of giving students agency over the content they create, the formats they choose, and also kind of forcing them to connect what we learn in my class with what they've done in their internships, in their own coursework, in their specific majors. They're also using not only Pressbooks, but they're using generative AI to create content, customize it, critique it, evaluate it. So the project has kind of undergone a transformation, even as we were in the course with Kate, that we set off to do something, a very kind of limited project, because we wanted to make it feasible, but everything morphs as you work with your students. And since then, it's become its own thing. And this semester, we're opening up my class project to the entire college. Well, that's overstating it, but to faculty who are willing to work on this inside the project, inside the college, and hopefully it will grow over time. So to kind of answer Heidi's question from the beginning of the session, I think this program can become anything you would want it to be. I think learning through the course, you'll develop an appreciation for embracing student perspectives and your colleagues' perspectives, and you yourself can become an advocate for the program by showcasing what you're doing. So I think this is where the librarian collaboration can become so powerful. And I have a dual role at the college. I'm also the college's instructional design lead, so I can help my colleagues and our students learn about Open Ed and renewables. So I think it's up to you what you do once you have your certificate and how you leverage your newfound knowledge and skills within your institution. All right, was that enough? What else would you like to learn, or would you like to hear the perspective from our librarian?
That was fantastic, Mesh. Yeah, we would love to hear from Kate as well. And then I think, Kate, did you also want to screen share?
No, I think, yeah, we were just going to share the press book, the one that's not currently public, but the other 2 y'all should be able to access through the links in the chat. So yeah, I can go ahead and take it from here. So
Thank
thanks so
you.
much, Mesh. Yeah, so as Mesh said, she was involved with the Open Education program kind of early on in our program. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kate Carter. I'm the Open Education Librarian at University of Houston. And I am a department of 2 librarians who are solely focused on open education. So we're very lucky in that we have the resources to kind of support the program and really start growing it. And over the past couple of years, we've really started to try to focus on supporting and growing our support for open pedagogy specifically. And so this certificate program, my colleague and I really thought would be a great opportunity for us to, work with 2 of our OER champions to really start kind of promoting open pedagogy first with them and help them kind of grow professionally in this area so that they can then take it to their colleges. So I actually worked with another faculty member at University of Houston. So Mesh and I worked together, but I also worked closely with Agnes DeFranco, and we kind of formed kind of a small learning community where we met together weekly throughout the program. And we took the coursework together, and so it was really nice to have kind of a little bit of like an internal cohort at the institution to work on the coursework and our action plans together. And it was not intentional, but Mesh and Agnes, the other faculty member, their classes were very, very different. So Mesh is working with an undergraduate course with a lot of students, a very large sections. And Agnes is in our Hilton College of Hospitality Administration, and she teaches in a doctoral program. And her project was focused on a doctoral class with 4 students. So they were vastly different courses. But that was really interesting for us to kind of see where, obviously with very different courses, how open pedagogy can apply in much different contexts and, see how it works with different populations and totally different subject areas as well. So that was a really kind of a unique and kind of an unexpected kind of benefit of having 2 faculty that we worked with. And so, yeah, as I mentioned, we set up brief weekly meetings to just touch base during the coursework portion of the program, have discussion about our action plans. And I really felt like it made it more of a collaborative effort to have the 3 of us working together and crowdsource ideas and consider the feedback we were getting from Tanya, our instructor, and really discuss that. And as things progressed in the semester went on, we did have to meet separately here and there to kind of talk separately about our different plans, but it really did help us form a community together, which was really nice. In terms of the certificate program itself, I really appreciated the structure of the program. I think it was a really well-rounded curriculum, and it really helped us ground our discussions in the underlying purpose of open pedagogy, and it gave us some shared vocabulary to address our goals for the renewable assignments that the faculty members were creating. And I myself am a big open pedagogy advocate, but I really felt like the program helped me discover new resources that I was not familiar with related to open pedagogy. So it was really a helpful program for me as well, even though I had a lot of familiarity going into the program. I really was able to be exposed to a lot of new resources that have really helped me learn more about it. And be exposed to new scholarship and new ideas. And I feel like the discussion questions and the activities throughout the program, they really also helped us engage with some of those new ideas and new ways of engaging with open pedagogy. And it also gave us an opportunity to engage with other people in the cohort outside of our institution. So that was also really nice. And I also really appreciated the self-reflection components of each module. So each module had, a discussion, different activities each week. Each module, there were discussion questions, action plan activities. We had a hypothesis, social annotation activity. So different ways of engaging with the coursework. But we also had a self-reflection component at the end of each module. And I feel like that was really beneficial to kind of continuously think about, how what we were learning could be applied, evaluate any areas where we needed to seek any clarification. And I feel like the course was modeled itself off of an open pedagogy approach, which I really appreciated. And overall, I'm really glad I was able to be part of this program and support Mesh and Agnes with their courses. And this fall, we're actively working on them. And I actually met with Agnes's course earlier this week, and we're meeting with Mesh's course next week. So it's exciting to see all of the hard work that they put into their action plans come into fruition. So I really would encourage everybody on the call to consider applying. So I think that's it for me.
Thanks so much, Kate and Mesh. Mesh, I really appreciate what you said. You can take the certificate program and make it what you need it to be, what you want it to be. So yeah, thank you so much for your stellar contribution when you were in the class, but also for being here today. Our final alumnus today is Bethany Mickel from the University of Virginia. Thanks for being here, Bethany.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much, Tanya. It's been super inspiring again to hear of the work everybody has been doing. My name's Bethany Mickel, and I'm an instructional design and OER librarian at the University of Virginia. I like to call myself a bit of a frequent flyer of the program. I've worked with 2 previous faculty members in the past. But in this round, I participated in the program with my colleague, Amy Hunsinger, who's a liaison librarian in the music and drama department. Amy's been embedded and co-taught in a voice for theater class for a number of years. So our partnership was a little bit different in that she's both a librarian but embedded within this particular course. She approached me about partnering for the program, and she indicated she was interested in learning a little bit more about the foundations of open pedagogy. We had talked about the work that I do, that she had attended many workshops, she had worked with faculty that I had worked with, in her department, but she really kind of wanted to get under the hood and see, what this was all about. And her interest was converting one of the assignments that was sort of a foundational piece of the course that she taught. So one of the benefits of participating in the program, I'll say right off the start, and it's sort of how Amy and I came together with this. I talked a lot about how this program, it not only tells you the how to do this work, it talks about the why behind open pedagogy and how it's framed, and how this is important work. This transcends, just flipping a classroom assignment. It really does have lasting value on many of the different levels, we've already talked about before. And this is really critical, as it elevates this work beyond, just another sort of fad or teaching trend. And it really instills the values, behind the work of open. So that was something that when we talked about this, she was very interested in and intrigued in doing. The focus for our project was she had a very traditional static assignment that the students would complete, where they would talk about some approaches to teaching or teaching each other some techniques for vocal performance. It was a very, traditional, they did a presentation in class and then they left, and, it didn't go any further. So we began talking about creating zines. And if you're unfamiliar with what a zine is, zines are actually handmade small books on a topic, and they're often designed in a way that's very reflective of the author's personality. So Amy had been talking about doing this work for a while. However, we realized that by compiling and having the students do this work and openly licensing them and talking with students about what it means to openly license their work, it would benefit other students studying theater and performance, and it would also make a nice compilation. So through the years, we'd have a gathering of these zines that could be shared out more broadly. We're in the process of working with the students right now, and we're considering all those tricky things like how do you take this very tactile content and scan it digitally so that it maintains some of that very personalized representation. So it's been fun to kind of puzzle through some of these things. A great part of this program is it really allowed us dedicated time to scaffold a plan and design the project. As we all know, we can be pulled in so many different directions, but having time set aside both to do the asynchronous work and to meet together really kept us on track. And it helped, the related assignments. It helped with our conversations back and forth. And at the end of the day, it really eliminated, excuses of saying, oh, we'll do it later, maybe next semester. It put us on target for really producing something. We appreciated our instructor for this cohort was David Tully, who was instrumental in providing valuable feedback throughout the cohort. We appreciated this immensely, as well as the other participants' feedback, ideas and thoughts and approaches. Really a great sounding board for us throughout this whole project. At the end, the showcase that I believe Tanya had mentioned was an excellent opportunity. It really allowed us to gather more feedback, share out the work that we had been doing, as well as really get inspired by what other teams, such as Kate and Mesh's team, were doing. I often, working in the realm of open, have told people working, in open sometimes, especially when you're, one or two of the people doing this at a university, it can feel like pushing like a really large boulder up a hill. But being part of this cohort made you feel like you're a part of a community, and you saw other people in the work that they're doing and were really inspired by that work. And finally, the opportunity to work collaboratively, within my own institution, with a colleague that I don't often get to work with. It's built some bridges and it's made some connections. We have other faculty members who've seen this work now and are interested as well. So this has just been a fantastic opportunity, and really encourage those of you who are able to do this to consider it. It's definitely a worthwhile experience, and facilitated so incredibly well.
Thank you, Bethany. Thank you, Mesh. Thank you, Kate, for being here to speak to your own experience in the program. We really appreciate it. The call for applications is live now. I will post these in the... So feel free to apply. Applications are due October 25th. Does anyone have any other questions of any of the alumni or instructors? Any other questions before we wrap up?
Yes, this is Heidi. Just briefly, could you confirm the application due date? You mentioned the 25th and slide says 31st, so just wanted to check.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. I've got the wrong date. It is October 31st, 2025. So sorry, I didn't change it from last year. Yep, October 31st, 2025. Sorry for the confusion.
Thanks so much.
Any other questions of any of us here? It is a spooky deadline. Yes, so someone in the chat has asked about professional, there's no professional development funds available, how to apply for financial assistance. The only difference for a partial scholarship where it takes it down to that 430 is you need a colleague to say, or a supervisor to say, hey, there is a financial need here. This person would be great. It doesn't have to be long, doesn't have to be lengthy, but you do need a colleague or supervisor, someone to vouch for, to submit a brief kind of recommendation letter, if you will, along with the application. So that's the one and only thing. BIPOC librarian or BIPOC faculty or librarians, instructional designers do not need that additional form separate from the partial financial assistance. So there's the full BIPOC scholarship and then the partial financial assistance. So the partial financial assistance, if that's what you are intending to apply for, you just apply like normal, but you have someone basically vouching that, yep, there's a financial need and yep, this person would be great for the program. So thank you. That's a good question. Any other questions? Okay, then we will wrap up. Thank you, Melissa, David, Mesh, Kate, Bethany, for being here and sharing your experience in the program. We appreciate it. This session has been recorded and will be put on the OEN's website as well. So thank you all. I hope you have a great weekend. Bye-bye.